the way I got into design was back in 2009. I watched The Social Network, and I didn't know it at the time, but a few months later, I decided when I was going in for my college admissions, I was like computer science, and that was the clear reason. So I got into computer science, and the first year of college doesn't really have any computer science. In engineering, it's a common year, and the second year, by the time I was done with it, I was like what am I doing? Because we were being I was coding in C++, Java, some of the stuff that I knew already, but then I could see that the direction that the rest of the course was taking was way more technical. So it was about how to build compilers, how to discrete mathematics, calculus, and I was like, I just want to build a cool ass app, right? So so then I was like, okay, this is not the way, and this is not the way. College is not going to teach me how to build products. And another way I sort of realized this was I was doing so the college projects that we had to do at the end of every semester, we would have to make something, like usually, and most, or even for our labs, our computer labs, we had to make stuff. And the kind of stuff that we would make would be just like programs that output to the terminal, and it's like a command line, and you're like, yes, please enter this input. And that's not how products are. I realized that programming wasn't, maybe is one of the pieces of building good products, but for me it wasn't the thing that was gonna get me into that space. So another thing that was happening in parallel was me, a friend of mine, Varun, a few other people, we were we sort of started doing this thing called Sizer, and this was like a small agency kind of thing, and we would just sort of make posters. We would try to make laptop skins like we did. So everybody in college received this 115-inch laptop, and what we did was we made skins for this so people could sort of differentiate, and we sold like a shit ton of them. And then we were like, okay, how do we take this further? So then we did t-shirts. We started selling them at the college fests. We did banners, we did designs for all of that. And eventually we sort of got into the space where we were like, let's try to make some money out of this. We were doing that already, but we were like, let's try to take this a little higher. So then eventually what happened was we started getting into design and development, and we sort of did this through Odesk, which is upwork.com right now. And it's like this freelance site where you can just go create a profile, fill out lies, and say that, I'm a developer, I know this. And you submit these cover applications for people who need work done, and you get freelance projects. So we did that, and the kind of projects that I started with were, like the first project I ever did was, it was a logo for this dude who wanted to start a popcorn company. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And we did it, and he paid me like $25, and I was like, wait, so I can make money online now. And then from there onwards, it was a bunch of like small tasks like this. So like make a logo, we need this banner for our for our store, we need to print this out. And then eventually, somewhere along the way, I was like, let's try to do something more interesting. So then we sort of went our separate ways, where a few of the people, Varun, Karthik, they started doing websites where they started developing them. And I was like, let's go hardcore into design. So that's when I started doing mobile apps. So this was a few years maybe after the iPhone had come out. There were a lot of these entrepreneurs online who wanted to make apps. So like I remember the first app I did was, it was an app to book maids to come clean your house, and this was for this dude based in Canada. And I did it. It was pretty shitty, but I got paid maybe $200 for that, and I was like, that's way more significant than a $20 logo. Maybe start of third year of college. For the next 3 years approximately, I worked on a lot of websites, apps, dashboards, and to the point where I was doing one new app almost every other month, right? And this was along with college. So like I would have classes in the morning, and then at night I would just come and do these apps. And I would make a lot of money from it, so I was happy. Once college was getting over, it was like the fourth year of college. I didn't really want to sit for like campus placements either, so I just continued freelancing straight out of college, moved back to Bangalore, and continued doing this for 6 more months before I realized that, wait, freelancing in college was fun because like there were friends around, you would still meet them every day. versus sitting at Starbucks in Bangalore. Like, this is kind of boring. I had heard of this company, housing.com, and they had been doing a lot of cool stuff. Um, they were super cocky online. So, like, I remember this one thing where they raised 2 million and spent 500,000 on the domain housing.com. Like, it was funny seeing them at this point because they were sort of very anti-establishment. They were doing things which weren't regular, like investing a lot in design, which at the time no Indian companies were really doing that. And that sort of attracted me to it. So then I moved to Bombay, worked for housing.com um, for about a year or so. And somewhere in that time, this friend of mine, Vibhas, who also worked at the Delhi office of housing.com, Abhiraj, we had this hackathon where we came up with this app. It was an app to listen to music with your friends. So let's say you're sitting next to each other, you can put in earphones and you can sort of listen to the same song. But what if you could do this when you were far away? When you were, let's say you want to recommend a song to your friend, but what do? So you send them a SoundCloud or a YouTube link, and then they never check it out, and you never get to know whether it was good or not. So we did this, we built this app. It was a chat room. You had a shared list of music on top. You had chats going on below it. And a few months later, we were like, let's just do this. Let's actually work on this. And that's when I got my friend Bhargav on board. We'd known each other from school. And for me, this was one of the first times when I was taking control of everything that it took to get a product successful. So what that means is, with freelance projects, like, most projects didn't work out. It was these small entrepreneurs trying to get it off the ground, some success, and then it dies. Or even with housing.com, like, I was building stuff, designing stuff, but I wasn't the one calling the shots. So Listen was sort of for all of us, it was this first product where we had complete ownership over what this was going to be. So if the product failed, it was totally up to us. Like, we could do whatever we wanted to make this product into a success. And so we took about 6 months or so to build it. We had small beta users, about 100, 200, and 300, and so on. And then eventually, sometime in maybe August 2016, we launched this on Product Hunt. And we did a bunch of growth hacking shit around this as well, but we managed to get about 2,000 signups from this, and this was for us our first huge spike. And then from then on, it gets really easy to figure out what to build next, because you have, I feel like if your product is working, people really tell you what they want next. So we had a lot of feature requests and we started shipping them out. So we continued growing Listen for about a year then. And then we sort of decided to shut it down. And this is something that I realized while doing Listen, where the same way that I realized in college that programming not equal to good product, my next bet was design. And after a while I was like, design does not lead to a good product. It can definitely be an unfair advantage, because design is about how you communicate, and communicating well means just having that unfair advantage where people understand what your product is and they're drawn to your product for that reason. But the way to build great products that last is firstly to have a good idea, but way beyond this is to have good execution, to figure out what are the best channels of distribution, from where do you consistently get users from. You have to do this consistently over months and years before you sort of figure out. But as you do it multiple times, you sort of start realizing what is working and what you should double down on. So your sense of intuition is built by building more products. So that's the story of how I got into design. If you want to read about how I got into freelancing, and if you're a freelancer or you're considering getting into it, I've written a book with Varun, and we got this published by Bloomsbury earlier this year. This is available on Amazon. I'm going to link it in the bio. I'm also going to include links to everything I spoke about in this video, including our story with Listen. So you can check that out in the description. This is sort of my first video, I think, that I'm doing where I'm just talking about stuff. The reason I wanted to do this also is because a blog post is great, but with videos, I feel like maybe there's a better connection. So let me know if you found this interesting and what I should talk about next. Any questions you have, or if you want want me to sort of dive deeper into any topic, just type it in the comments or send me a tweet. Thanks for watching.